The forgotten fighter of the United States Navy, the F2H Banshee. No, not that Banshee. This plane is very old and very much so forgotten, and we're going to talk about it today in War Thunder and all of its capabilities. But first, I found this training video that describes this plane perfectly.
The Banshee takes a bow. The F2H-2 Banshee is a carrier-based, single-place fighter that Navy pilots like to fly. The airplane is powered by two axial-flow Westinghouse J-34 turbojet engines, each developing 3,250 pounds static thrust at sea level. With tip tanks, the wings span a hair under 45 feet. On the wings, there are launchers for 8 rockets or bombs, and in the nose, 4 20-millimeter forward-firing guns. Normal fighter condition weight is approximately 16,750 pounds, and overload fighter condition weight is approximately 20,550 pounds. The airplane is operationally rated at speeds of 510 knots and Mach 0.85, subject to tech orders and squadron doctrine.
The F2H in War Thunder is about as good as that training video said it is. It goes 580 miles per hour and, in my opinion, is probably one of the coolest looking planes in the game. The paint job, I mean, look at that. That's pristine. For weapons and modifications, you get a couple different bombs and some air-to-ground missiles. It's not really the heaviest laden aircraft out there. It's definitely not the F-111. For bombs, you get a 500-pound bomb, or two 500-pound bombs, excuse me, and four 250-pound bombs with a few different rockets, which are completely useless. Don't know why you'd ever use those. For different loadouts of mine, I have a sim loadout, which is just 2 bombs and 2 rockets. I don't think the rockets have ever came in handy, like ever. I kind of just have them to have them. And also the wing-mounted fuel tanks I forgot to mention. So it does have 2 wing-mounted fuel tanks. That training video also mentioned the fuel tanks. They are 200 gallon apparently. The more you know. The F2H sits at a BR of 7.3, and for all the footage that I'll be using in this video, the plane is spaded with all the modifications and all of the weapons, although I don't, until sim, I don't use any of the bombs because it's mostly a fighter jet. Alright, here we are in an actual match. This is going to be quite interesting, I am sure. Probably one of the more interesting things about this plane is how fast it is at this BR. Compared to a lot of other planes, this one seems to be awful fast and has a lot more maneuverability than these ME 262s or 163s. So I engage a ME 163. Usually not a good idea because they are a lot faster and they can get behind you super easy. But this guy was not paying any attention to anything, and I kind of just shoot his wing off. That sucks to be him, I guess. So usually what I do with this plane is I go up high and just dive down on whoever I can find. And of course engage anyone up high with me. It usually works pretty well. There's a few times with like up tiers or whatever with MiG-15s where that can kind of backfire on you, and then you look like a fish out of water. But I spot this ME 262, and this is a good demonstration of how well this plane maneuvers. I do not have my crew maxed though, so G limit is kind of a issue with this plane just because of how how much it pulls and how little my crew's trained. So again, this guy's tail, I am directly behind him, and this is a good demonstration of how low velocity these shots are. I got behind him there and had a very clean shot, but I couldn't pull my nose any higher just because of the compression, and my velocity on those shells is just terrible. And that's probably one of the only issues with this plane that I can like really confidently complain about, is it just, the lead is terrible. Anyways, in this match, I eventually just get absolutely obliterated by these F-84. F-84s and MiG-15s seem to be the majority of the problem with this plane, although the F2 can outmaneuver MiG-15s pretty easily. So we're on to this next match, and this turns into a complete cluster. This is not usually a type of situation you want to dive in on, but I didn't realize that it would turn into what it does. But I'm just gonna let this clip play out and talk when I need to. That was an awful close call right there. I don't exactly know how I survived or how he survived, but I did get a hit, so I mean, that's good. So you see how I kind of dive in and then immediately go back up and out and reassess the situation and then dive back in? That is one of the best things about this plane, is how good its energy retention is, and you can just swoop in and swoop right back out, and it'll do it every single time. I mean, if you just pay attention to my speed through this entire clip, I'm pulling 8 Gs and hardly dropping the airspeed. It's insane. So I clipped the wing off that Meteor. That's another reasonable demonstration. I was kind of just trying to get a good shot on him, honestly, and get a clean shot and not like over pull and lose speed a bunch. So it does okay in those sorts of things. A lot of these earlier jets have kind of poor velocity on their guns. These ME-163s generally, when they're this low, are really easy to kill as well. It's just the size of the bullets on this plane. It has 420 millimeters, and they just destroy the wings of your enemy. It's insane. I mean, that SU-9 there, yeah, just head on and he's done. You know, there's really nothing he can do about it. I do come back around to try and confirm the kill and not get it stolen, since it was only a crit and not a severe damage. But this guy pulls a very stupid maneuver when you don't have as much lift as you used to, and crashes and dies. I don't remember if I get any more kills in this clip. I think it's just a couple more kill assists. But we're gonna let this one play out. Yeah, this guy, I believe, I kind of choked my shots on it and didn't really commit to it. I ran out of ammo and got the kill stealing from me. So now moving on to landing performance. This thing, you can come in really hot. The air brakes work pretty well, and you'll drop speed pretty quick with them on. So you don't really have to slow down a bunch before the runway. And the brakes work pretty well on this as well. You can see here around 230 I drop my gear, and I never use flaps on planes like this. So I kind of just mosey on in, very nice, perfect touchdown there. Hold in on my brake, and this thing, with how light it is, especially with how little fuel I had, it just stops on a dime. It is great to land. Never have any issue, don't have to worry about stalling or anything, and the engine response on it is pretty good and pretty snappy. So if you do make a mistake, you can just throttle up and get out of there. In this next clip, I'm going to give you a bit of spoilers here. I don't end up killing the guy, but this is a very good demonstration of its general maneuverability and flight performance in a dogfight. This is a very, very long and drawn out dogfight, and sadly I don't end up getting the kill, but it is a good demonstration. So I'm chasing down this plane, and I hear what sounds like another jet coming behind me pretty quick. So I look behind, and sure enough, it's a MiG-15. He is on my tail. The MiG-15s are ever so slightly faster than this plane, but there isn't much other than that is faster. If I was at altitude, I probably could have outran him, but I was pretty low. So we go into the straight vertical, which is usually not advised, but I couldn't go to the side, and I couldn't exactly go down with how low I was. So I kind of break off while he's going off in the opposite direction. I'm trying to regain my speed. I think he was too. He gets a pretty good angle on me here and doesn't fire. Just complete. If he did fire, he completely missed. So kind of a skill issue on that guy's part. But I loop back around. At this point, I'm trying to regain speed. This thing does not really compress at high speeds. So if I go 500 or whatever miles per hour, I'm going to pretty much pull the same as I would at 4 or 350 miles per hour. I get behind him here and choke all of my shots because I, at this point, was not quite used to this plane. I just started playing it for the review again, and the velocity with these bullets, like I said before, really just kind of gets you there. Have a few good shots here, still completely miss, and he is very much so out-turning me at this point. But as the speed slowly drops, I'm going to start gaining on him, and he goes for the vertical. I don't have enough energy for that. He has a little more engine thrust than me, so I kind of break off and go out and try and draw him out and outmaneuver his bullets here. Hope he tries to overpull, but I don't quite do it right and get shot here. But I'm still in the fight. He gets behind me. I flatten out a bit, make my profile a bit smaller. He misses his shot. He goes down low. My two teammates come and start going after him now. I'm using my flaps at this point. I think this is the first time the entire fight I've used my flaps, which goes to show you how well this thing maneuvers. And eventually he goes up and my teammate kills him. So yeah, that's that clip, and we are going to move on to Sim. Here we are in Sim. Kind of like the last video, I'm not really going to talk about the actual gameplay footage because it's not really all that thrilling or all that interesting. I will interject in about what's happening behind you, but most of this is just going to be my summary and general Sim performance. So takeoff and handling of this plane in Sim is really good, even with a full fuel load. I think I run minimum fuel on the actual plane itself and run both drop tanks. That lightens the load a little bit, and if I ever have to get into an intense dogfight, I can just drop the fuel tanks and start fighting as needed. This is probably one of the easiest planes to fly in Sim. Obviously, it doesn't have any of the torque issues that a prop plane does, where you just kind of twist around and boogie down or whatever. And it just handles beautifully. It's hard to describe unless you've played a good deal amount of Sim and then flown this jet. Like it handles so well and pulls really well, and it's just great for this sort of stuff. I forgot to mention in my unboxing of the plane that this thing does have a rangefinder radar, but it is completely useless in realistic battles. There's no point in having it, and if someone has a radar warning receiver, it will just go off with you behind them, and they will know you are in fact behind them. So I usually turn it off, but in Sim mode, I usually turn it on to kind of just help me find the range of whoever I'm chasing. This footage doesn't really have much of dogfights in it, because these kind of low tier sim matches, it's really quite hard to find people, and usually when you do, they are just bots, which kind of sucks. But this thing is pretty good for base bombing in sim. It, once again, only has two 250-pound bombs, which isn't the best, but it isn't terrible either. You can get a base destroyed with enough bombing runs. And for ground support, whether you're wanting to use this in ground battles or whatever, honestly, I wouldn't really recommend it for that. There's a few other jets around the same BR. There's, I think it's called the F3D or something like that. I'll put it up on screen here. That is an actual like proper bomber, and I think it's at a BR of 6.0, but I don't remember if that's for ground battles as well. This thing, its bullets really just can't penetrate armor, as you see here. It would be better if I had bombs, but I just got done with my bombing run, so it just has none, obviously. I crashed there like an absolute noob, and I eventually find this guy. I thought it was a real player because he was chasing my teammate, but it actually somehow was a bot. I guess I didn't realize that the bots in sim could be so aggressive. I very easily take him out, and that is the end of my sim footage. So in summary, the F2H is a good all-around fighter that's not necessarily all that good for any sort of ground pounding, but could do it in a pinch. It has great maneuverability, great speed, and the only thing it really lacks is velocity on the cannons. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like, subscribe, do whatever the YouTube people say you need to do, and have a good one.